United Nations, a UNICEF, a Lok Sabha, a Rajya Sabha, and media and civil society or change makers. And what's happening is that the UN and UNICEF have passed certain resolutions. They've gone to the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. And of course, they're dealing with their own crises and their own sort of ideologies. You've got the left-wing party, you've got the right-wing party, center party. Students are sort of immerse themselves into the role irrespective of what their real beliefs are. And then you've got the change maker, the civil society group, which we've got a nice blend of students. We've got students from Parikrama, we've got students from different round square schools, residential, non-residential, kind of represent Indian society. And they've come up with the Citizens Charter on what we the people want. I want them to understand the importance and the need for them to participate in public policy, in lawmaking, consider the possibility of becoming leaders, because I think our students are very privileged, right? And a lot of times you need people in positions of privilege to get involved because you can actually dedicate time to it. Most people are familiar with the concept of Model United Nations. There's some schools which also have youth parliaments where they have a Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. The focus in these forums tends to be to either understand history, understand process, or both. What we wanted to do was to teach children about the interplay between various stakeholders. So for example, if you look at education, up till 2015, the United Nations focus, of which India is a signatory, the focus was to ensure that every child gets an education, that primary education is universalized, right? So India achieved that. We have more kids in school now than ever before, particularly in primary school. Then came along the Sustainable Development Goals, which talked about inclusive, quality, equitable education and lifelong opportunities for all. Focus has changed. Whereas India can tick the box off and say, yes, we've achieved primary school, universalization of education. Kids are attending school. We can't actually say that children are learning, right? So what I'd like our students to understand is how international organizations such as the United Nations, at the end of the day, we are a part of humanity, how things like that, how organizations like that have an impact on national law, policy, and our way of life. I think in many ways, humanity is under the biggest threat ever, right? Let's look at some numbers. Let's look at India. We have the largest population of youth in the world, which are going to school. We have the largest working population in the world. I think by 2030, we will have the largest working population in the world. However, there are more kids, both in school and out of school, not learning. We have a big gap in terms of jobs which are being created. For the first time ever, we're actually looking at the possibility of our minds being replaced. In the past, a computer may have replaced something which we did physically, a machine may have replaced what we did physically. But now, I think it was a couple of years ago that a computer, I think it was Google DeepMind, actually beat the champion in the world for Go. Now, Go is a game of intuition. A normal computer can't do it. So what that's telling us is that the possibility of artificial intelligence, even replacing us, is real. Possibly, if not in our lifetimes, definitely in our children's lifetime. The impact of technology in terms of the gap between the rich and poor really, really makes me nervous. The top 8 richest people in the world in terms of net worth is equal to the bottom 50%, which means 8 people own as much as about 3.5, 3.8 billion people. That's scary, right? So what I want our children to understand is that they are not going to get ahead. Our education system, the way society functions, it's really aimed at ensuring that every child gets the best possible college, gets the best job, we get a house, we get a car, and we carry on like everything's going to go on like it always has been. But I think my parents' generation, my generation is actually the entitled generation. We've kind of messed it up. And we're handing children a world which is very much under threat, be it climate change, in terms of the impact of development on the environment, in terms of just the entire situation, the gap between the rich and the poor has been accelerated tremendously. The other area which really concerns me is that we have more tools than ever before to communicate. I grew up at a time where most of us didn't have telephones at home. When I first left home to go overseas to study, I used to place a trunk call once a week. Now, I mean, you've got everything on your fingertips, and yet as a society, we've forgotten how to talk to each other. We've forgotten how to have a dialogue with each other. It's all become about, I'm right, you're wrong. And we're seeing politicians who feel that way, who talk that language, coming to the fore. And I don't think that's okay. Right? So I want our students to understand empathy, compassion, put themselves in someone else's shoes, and to understand other stakeholders' perspectives, such that we work together on solutions which everybody can benefit from.